Just to remind you, as the Reason application launches, you'll notice that the demo song is the first thing that pulls up. You have 4 windows: the device option to create, the devices rack, the sequencer section, and the transport area. Let's look at these more in depth. Now that you have a better understanding of the transport area, we're now going to focus on the devices rack. In this area, you have your mixers, synthesizers, and effects. Whether you call it a mixing board, a mixing console, soundboard, or an audio mixer, its main purpose is to change the levels, timbre, and dynamics of audio signals in order to combine them. In its simplest description, a mixing board allows the whole band to play through the same amplified speaker system. The most important aspect of understanding mixers is to understand the channels. On almost all consoles, the channels are laid out in strips. The signal comes in physically through the back of the device. If you hit tab, you can see the back of the device, which we'll talk about later. Then passes through the channel's various controls, from top to bottom. Usually the gain or the trim is at the top, and the faders are at the bottom. Let's begin by looking at the channel input. As a reminder, hit tab to look at the back of the mixing board and all devices. The first point of each channel's pathway is the input socket, where the sound source plugs into the mixer. It is important to note that what type of input sockets are available. The most common types are XLR, 6.5mm jack, which is also called a 1/4" plug, and an RCA plug. Input sockets are usually located either on the rear panel of the mixer, as is the case in Reason, or on the top of each channel, which might be present on some physical board. Now let's hit tab to return to the front side of the board and the devices. In general, each instrument or mic gets its own channel. Depending on the specific mixing board, the channel is either stereo or mono. For example, as we hit tab to turn to the back of the mixing board, you can see that this is a stereo channel. It has both left and right. Now, how do I know that? By looking across, you can see that the top row is left mono and the bottom row is right audio. That means each channel within Reason is a stereo channel. Let's hit the tab key to see the front side of the devices and get started. As mentioned before, the gain control is usually located at the top of each channel. The gain controls how much volume is sent from the devices to the mixer. Let's see a larger portion of the devices by clicking this bar and dragging down. We're going to solo the Rhodes instrument to hear just it, and watch what happens, or listen to what happens as I control the master volume. Let's cut it down. And all the way up by grabbing it, going up. As you can see, by controlling the master volume, we adjust the volume going into the mixer. Keep in mind that you can still control volume by the fader, which we'll discuss in just a moment. The next area you need to be aware of is the aux area. Aux is how you control effects on each channel. Look to your right. As you can see, aux 1 is the RV7000. What does that mean? That refers to this advanced reverb tool. If we click the arrow down, you can see the entire tool. And within each instrument channel, you can control how much of the reverb you hear. Let's play the Rhodes again and listen to what happens as I adjust the amount of reverb. Now let's talk about the equalizer knobs. One of the purest ways to adjust the depth and richness of the track is through the manipulation of its highs and lows. Most mixing boards have separate knobs to adjust the treble and the bass, or the highs and lows. The next button down are the solo and mute buttons. These buttons are often grouped together. The solo button turns everything off except the soloed track. This allows you to hear one track or instrument at a time. Mute does the opposite, turning off this selected track. Next down, we have the pan knob, which allows you to adjust the amount of sound coming from the left channel by going all the way to the left, or the right channel by going all the way to the right. Finally, each channel has its own fader or slider. to adjust the volume of the channel signal before it is sent to the master. The master is located here, so we adjust the volume down by going down or up by going up. A slider is a potentiometer or variable resistor. This is a simple control which varies the amount of resistance and therefore the signal level. As a rule, it is desired that the fader be around 0 dB, marked for our optimal sound quality, although this will obviously vary a lot. Remember, there are two ways to adjust a channel's volume: the input gain, which is found on each device, sending it to the mixer, and then the fader,